for that. That kind of thing. You'll see just a lot more thing happening. Yeah, but I think it will be very see when Saturn leaves Sagittarius. Then Jupiter will be literally free, it Ketu, and then you might find a lot of deep spiritual insights coming to the front. A very, very powerful spiritual knowledge will come right now to many people. There'll be a lot of gurus from the past lives coming to the front. I would think a lot of great spiritual knowledge will be coming to the front.
You want to go through the 12 signs briefly and say how?
Yeah, sure.
To take into consideration Ashtaka Varga. So you have to look at Ashtaka Varga score to see how Jupiter will perform for you this next year. But in general, you can kind of say, if he's in this house, then these certain things will be activated. So what do you think?
So I'll go briefly over them. So like for Aries sign, Jupiter will be in the 9th house, so this is a time period where Aries ascendant will actually be considering about foreign travel, higher education. They might be deeply with their spiritual gurus, go for pilgrimages, things like that, Definitely, they might have issues with the roles of coming up right now. Father or father figures actually coming up right now, and they might have to deal with those kind of themes as well right now. Or the fatherhood, the principle of fatherhood, the whole patriarchy, that kind of thing, that kind of thing will actually come to the front right now. So for Taurus ascendant, this Jupiter transit is going to be in the 8th house. This is a time period when a lot of attention is being put on your finances, especially joint finances. Usually I would say this is a time arguments can break out between married couples or whatever about joint finances. So they are short for that.
Together in the 8th house, you could get divorced.
Yeah, well, it's possible that around the eclipse time, the arguments can kind of get out of hand. So it's kind of important to calm yourself down. I would say definitely Jupiter and Ketu, the eclipse is very intense this time for Taurus ascendant happening in their 8th house. 8th house of sudden events. So usually there is this theme of like the insurance. Now this is a great time period to study occult. If you want to study astrology, great time period. If you want to study any kind of spiritual tradition, great time period. Now, for Gemini ascendants, Sagittarius transit is going to happen in the 7th house of relationships. So this will be a time when finally many natives might feel like socializing. They might feel like a breakthrough in their relationship area of their life. They might finally feel a lot of openness to even like traveling on lands and then activating the relationships as well. Perhaps this period when Gemini ascendants might actually become intelligent about their relationships as well. They might find to read a book about relationships. They might read a book about opening up business. That things is possible right now. One thing about Gemini ascendants also, because Gemini is actually carrying a nakshatra of Punavasu. So you'll find that when Jupiter is in Sagittarius, Gemini ascendant some natives might actually feel like a big start kind of thing playing out in their life. They might feel like the need to restart a lot of things in their life, and that's very perhaps some things in life you don't succeed at the first attempt, you might have to succeed in the second attempt. That's one thing I would say. For Cancer ascendant, it's happening, this transit is happening in the 6th house of routines, loans, 6th house also of, enemies, competition, 6th house also of like, though it's very easy for Cancer ascendant to, get caught up in this whole enemy thing, because remember, Cancer is a sign where Jupiter actually gets exalted. Now, begin to find that they'll begin to become very spiritual about the way they are dealing with competition in general. They'll become very, they'll begin to uproot people out of their life that's not serving them all that kind of thing with Cancer ascendant can become very strong. Uproot people can also symbolize uprooting philosophies, working the ancestral trauma, getting rid of that, cleansing all that ancestral karma.
Too, because Saturn's there, and because I have this, and I've noticed that having Saturn and Ketu in my 6th house, I ended one career and started another. So, I mean, that's with Jupiter. I'm like, oh, thank God he's there. Because it's the house of health too, right? So, I mean, my health is very challenging. I've been sick all year, and I'm just now starting to feel like I'm getting better. And that's And, we also have to remember, this is something that until you're on the day that things happen, it's hard to kind of see. But, when Jupiter went into Sagittarius, Mercury was still retrograde. And I feel like it kind of held back some of his benefits. And so now that Mercury's direct, I'm feeling like, okay, now Jupiter can function more, properly.
Yeah, definitely. I think many Cancer students will begin to have a spiritual routines right now. A very strong spiritual routine. They might have a routine with contour.
Depressed. Yeah. And mantras are essential for health every day. Because look, you can't possibly, I listen to a lot of them on YouTube, but you can't possibly listen or do mantras and be depressed. You just can't be. They don't exist.
Yep, exactly.
And as soon as you start that music,
Definitely. Well, one simplest thing I can say for a Cancer ascendant, this for any Cancer ascendant also, is to actually have a routine where you are going to some spiritual place of worship either on a Thursday. That is this thing. What can happen then is that you're getting a 6th house Jupiter right now. This will be great. If you make sure you have a Thursday spiritual as long as Jupiter is in Sagittarius, right? For a Cancer ascendant. That's very great for them. Jupiter, so make Thursdays into spiritual days, books about spirituality, we open about spirituality, things like that. We open to new knowledge, things like that, Now for Leo ascendant, this Jupiter transit is happening in the 5th house of children. So definitely a lot of Leo ascendant natives will become parents. They'll begin to think about children. They'll begin to plan about children. The children's education is a big theme right now. A lot of creativity will also be inspired within the Leo ascendant right now. And they'll begin to they'll begin to work with their ancestral trauma a lot. All that kind of thing might come through a creative kind of outlet, that can be very strong. Now, natives might suddenly feel inspired, to study about stock market investing, study about, will be more willing to take more romantic challenges, things like that. That kind of thing is actually possible right now because Jupiter is also transiting the 5th house of romance as well. Now, for Leo ascendant, one important thing is, it's very important for a Leo ascendant to become, not to be blind out of their own ego. Because what is interesting with Uttarashada is that Uttarashada is an unruled nakshatra. It's an actual nakshatra where Jupiter gets debilitated in the Capricorn side. So it's very important for a Leo ascendant native, at least during this time period, to study more about themselves and to even not to puff up their ego, to understand their side of their ego. What is truly unique about them? Not to be so unique to the point where you're cursing someone else or trying to bring down someone else, that kind of thing. So it's kind of like accepting everyone else's. Yeah, definitely. But at least it's a good time period for Leo ascendant in general because Jupiter is transiting to 5th house of Purva Punya, so you might actually get a lot of merits during this time. Of course, depending upon the Ashtavarga score and all that. But this is a great time period in general for Leo ascendant. Now you have for ascendant, Jupiter is actually transiting 12th house. So this is a great time period to bring about homes, residence, expanding to a new home, bringing a new home, buying new land, property, changing your vehicle, cars, all that kind of things. This time frame. This is also a great time period to connect with your mother and to literally heal all those mother issues that we all have. So Jupiter runs through 4th house is kind of a great time period to connect more with the mother goddess energy as well. You might find a lot of people suddenly decorating this as a spiritual kind of thing. With Jupiter is transiting to the 4th house. They might bring in more books. You might suddenly shift a home so that they can study more, things like that. All that kind of thing can actually happen more for a Virgos. Yeah, definitely. Well, one thing I should definitely say is that suddenly Saturn transit with Ketu for a Virgo has been challenging, because they have been testing the comfort zones have been tested for a long time right now, probably for the past. Now Jupiter transit 4th house is actually gonna make them more intelligent about how they are handling, how they have been handling all the limitations and all the challenges, and that wisdom from those past experience will come to the front, right? That is a way of frame that. Now for Libra ascendant, Jupiter is actually in the 3rd house, right? So that's actually going to expand their creativity. A lot of hobbies will come forth. A lot of people will be doing a lot of short distance travel to foreign countries almost on a frequent basis. A lot of hobbies, a lot of expansion, writing. Suddenly you find yourself reading books that hobbies and things like that. I would even say a lot of communication kind of things can happen. Now it's very important for a Libra ascendant again because it's carrying a Jupiter rule nakshatra to become kind of like come down when a lot of arguments break down on the communication front, especially with their friends and things like that. Vishaka is also very intense kind of nakshatra carrying this Indragni kind of energy there, and Jupiter is actually in a fire sign right now. So a lot of fiery kind of communication is a very strong possibility for a Vishaka native right now. But at the same, this will be a great time period to communicate their long-term plans with their, with their loved ones and stuff like that. That kind of thing is very strong. Now, for a Scorpius man, Jupiter transit through the second house of Sagittarius is actually good for money. Suddenly, out of nowhere, new money is coming in. I would say new financial investments might be coming your way. I would even say that you might actually be making money from foreign lands or through spiritual means or through counseling. There's a chance that you actually, yeah, for sure. You might just find a new job.
Scorpio ascendant, and he just got a foreign investor. I was like, oh, Jupiter.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly,
there you go. Exactly that. Actually making foreign. And now remember, it's with Ketu, so there's a good chance that there was a past life connection playing out on that front.
Right.
There was some kind of healing that happened on the ancestral DNA front, which was actually bringing those blessings of those foreign investing energy. Definitely, there's definitely no doubt about that. Now, but for Scorpio in general, you'll find that they'll begin to become very preachy during this time. Scorpio is the group of people who really need to watch out for their, the religious kind of fundamentals kind of values during this time frame. Is actually the eclipse is happening in the second house of values right now. Perhaps you might find that the sudden combative kind of nature of Scorpio ascendants coming to the front right now. That's an actual thing for Scorpio ascendants to watch out, because Mars will be on Scorpio when the eclipse is happening. It's an important thing also for a Scorpio. Now, Sagittarius is where Sagittarius ascendant natives, all the action is happening for them. They are feeling like their life has been completely uprooted, right? They are feeling now finally they feel that big blessing coming there. They feel a big break for them. Now they're like, okay, fine. Now what I've been planning and strategizing, all that is making sense.
I mean, if you have your moon in Sag, you've been in Sati Sati. Because you guys, you can listen to this reading from your Lagna, your ascendant, or you can read it from your moon. And I find the moon, you have to do both, really. I find I miss so much if you don't use your Chandra Lagna,
Well, to be frank, Katya, I would still say that if you can actually make use of all the signs and apply that in your chart, because remember each sign is playing different house roles, and you will see. So Libra might be 7,000 in your chart, or Libra might be 5,000 in your chart. But from Libra chart ascendant, with 5th house areas of your life, you might find 3rd house activities being expanded. So it might be like your romantic interests, your passions, your creativity, suddenly getting to go for more of more hobbies and communication with regard to your creativity kind of thing. So it's like definitely value in understanding all the ascendants. That's the next level though. But that's definitely, as you mentioned, ascendant, moon, sun, even that's a very standard kind of way of looking at that.
Right.
Again,
from my sun chart, I mean, I get a little bit. But and I know, really you should look at all three. But the moon chart, it just shows the shadow side that you are not seeing in the Rashi.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely.
In fact, you can read a whole chart from the moon chart and not even look at the Rashi. It'd be completely accurate,
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely, I would say even what's interesting about that, sun chart could just mean that your father or authority figures in your life is experiencing all this stuff. If you make Mars as the Lagna, this transit, you might find your siblings or your friends are actually experiencing this effect. And that's the other way to look at the chart. You can make Jupiter as Lagna, read this transit, and suddenly your spouse is actually experiencing this effect as well. So that's the other way to. There's the other layer to these transits, which is actually hidden in plain sight, but we kind of forget about it. That's something I would say. But coming back to Sagittarius, whatever Sagittarius natives will finally feel a break, a big shift coming during this time frame. They'll finally feel a big shift. Whenever eclipse happens on the ascendant at that particular year, a big transformation energy is coming into your life. Perhaps it will be a decision which you make. You might change job. You might even change your place of residence, or your entire life is going to be completely experience a big shift. All that kind of thing. Usually, Jupiter transit over ascendant is great for relationships, though, in general, because that can expand. This aspecting the seventh house, bringing in new relationships for Sagittarius ascendant. For Capricorn natives, it's happening in the 12th house of chart of their charts. So 12th house is the house of letting go. Now Capricorn ascendant natives have really been going through a very hard time, because you have Saturn Ketu in the 12th house. They had an eclipse last year on their ascendant. So there's a lot of transformation already happening with Capricorn ascendant natives. And then one important thing though is that right now Jupiter in 12th house is an excellent time period. You kind of like retreat and recoup, and kind of like have a long what their past 11 years are. This is a great time period to reflect on that. And then definitely 12th house is the houses. 12th house is also a house of foreign travel, so they might definitely be traveling to foreign lands. Now it's very interesting that this Capricorn natives might be traveling to ashrams, retreats, meditation retreats, and all that kind of thing. These natives really might be going for a they will really be going for a break, for
Right.
sure.
And meeting their guru in foreign lands.
For sure, definitely, exactly. There you go. That's a good one. Now, for Aquarius ascendant natives, is transiting through the 11th house of gains. Now, this is a time period when they might actually be part of very powerful social clubs. They might be networking with a very powerful group. Suddenly, their network circle has been expanded suddenly, unexpectedly, through the means of their teachers. Even you could even say that other than this is a time period most of the Aquarius natives would be attending some kind of conferences for sure. They will be open to those kind of conferences. They would be now, one definite suggestion I have for Aquarius ascendant is to attend classes in a group session, in a group way. So rather than going for an individual sessions, if you want to study something, if you for yoga, for instance, attend a group class on yoga instead of studying literally from YouTube or something like that. That kind of thing is something I can highly recommend right now. So that's one thing. For Aquarius ascendant, is great time period. A lot of wealth is going to come. This is a temporary Dhana Yoga. Second lord is in the 11th house right now by transit. So you can make a lot of money, right? So a lot of gains can come, promotions come, all that good stuff. This is a very good time period right now. Now, finally, for Pisces ascendant native, Jupiter is transiting through their 10th house of career. Now, Pisces ascendant native finally will begin to feel some kind of stability career front. Saturn has been literally destroying Pisces ascendant natives over the past 2 years. So Saturn being the 12th lord, transiting through the 10th house, that's been a very extreme time period for them, extremely karmic time period for them, where they feel extremely isolated, extremely frustrated, all that Saturn and kind of delay obstacle kind of. Jupiter, when transiting through Pisces, actually going to expand a lot of good things for them. Finally, they're hopeful. Finally, they feel optimistic. Finally, there's a ray of light that is actually activating gains and stuff like that. A lot of financial blessings can come. Usually, even I would even say a lot of things on the career front will just work itself out on many fronts. I would even say a lot of loans might get repaid. There might be help coming your way as well. Help in the form of family, help in the form of good friends, spiritual friends, help through teachers, help support from counselors or supporter figures,
Yeah, meeting
all
new
that.
people in the career.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Meeting new people through career.
Yeah, this is my husband.
Know,
He just went to Amsterdam for a physics conference and met
yep.
all these gurus of his career. Like as soon as Jupiter went into his 10th house, it was like.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, you can see that, and traveling to foreign lands. This is a time when the foreign land pilgrimages might actually be fruitful natives. You might, finally there is new ideas coming your way, new ways of thinking, ways of looking. Now, this is something I even encourage. Try to read a book from foreign land. Even that's also something I can encourage. Read philosophy. Say you're just digging, you're just hearing a Vedic astrology session for the first time. Try look deeper into the Vedas and stuff like that. Take your time, read the epics, read the Mahabharata, stuff like that. That kind of thing is very good. Now again, Pisces ascendant native will be having a great time period because they'll be getting some very powerful intuitive messages right now, because Ketu is with Jupiter. It's almost like out of nowhere, this kind of, it's almost like they're speaking to their guides all the time, literally right now when Jupiter is in Sagittarius. So that's actually great, great thing for players in the natives. Yeah, so that's what I have for Jupiter in Sagittarius, Katya. Any questions or anything like that? Anything you would like to add on to what I said?
I mean, Jupiter rules Pisces, so especially also for them. And we keep focusing, Sagittarius. Well, in Vedic, Jupiter also rules Pisces. So I think they also are going to feel a lot of relief in their career at this time, having Saturn and Ketu there, just pulling everything apart, making us get down to what's really important,
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think Pisces men will finally be making a big decision. They have been struggling with their career for a long time. Suddenly now, a lot of things are just going to slip up. That is the way I would frame. I think there's a good time period in general for Pisces, and they should be making. They should not be, oh, things are working out, I should just relax. They should actually be making news and working hard. That's what will actually help them out. So make time period to actually implement your plans, to bring out a good strategy, make a big plan, things like that. That kind of thing will be very, very good right now, especially for Pisces, Sun natives, along with Sagittarius for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that. That definitely will help a lot of people. This is getting a little long, but do you want to go over the superimposed chart? Maybe we can just talk about how transit Jupiter, how it works with the Navamsha and the Rashi chart superimposed, and just,
right. So yeah, I'll just talk about it briefly. Maybe that's better because it's already long, right? So we kind of I forget sense of time when I talk.
Want to share your screen?
Well, let's see. Well, let's see. Well, yeah, the technique I'm going to show was actually about this technique of simply how to use more of your more of the Navamsha chart placement even in your birth chart. Like how to connect things with in a simpler fashion. Perhaps there is lot more kind of interesting things that you can do. Know your Navamsha placement of a particular planet and things like that. So I'm going to join in from laptop. I'll share my screen also. So it was going to be, I was actually going to do it with some couple of birth charts of celebrities, a little bit, just to introduce how to look at that, how to look at things. I'll kind of show that very quickly. So I was actually, let's see. Yeah, I'll share my screen right now. Okay, I'll just share my desktop. Okay, it's a mess, but soon it should get. Okay, so I'll just say that. Is it coming? Is it coming right now?
See it.
Okay, great. So we're just going to talk simply about connecting the Rashi and Navamsha positions of planets for basically what I'm just describing as enhanced predictions. It's very simple concept. Most of the time, we only look at Rashi chart and do predictions, right? But if you begin to use Navamsha, you'll begin to see a lot of things you can do with that. Now, for instance, Navamsha definitely is a very important. In fact, say that Navamsha is the actual chart that gives you the actual fruit of the planets placed there, placed in the Rashi chart. So you actually get the results of any planet in the Rashi chart by looking at its placement in the Navamsha chart as the actual source of it, And so definitely the planets in the Navamsha chart, its place to determine the strength of that particular planet as well as its true capacity to give results which you're looking out for. It's very simple, basic stuff. So, for instance, I would simply share like how it's commonly used right now. Like, for instance, say in this particular chart, you can see that the concept of Vargotama, right? A planet that is simply sitting in the same sign in the Rashi chart as well as in Navamsha chart. That's considered to be very good. So Vargotama in this particular You can see Jupiter is both in the Rashi chart as well as in so the inner chart is actually the Rashi chart, the outer chart is the Navamsha chart. So this is the composite chart thing in Parashas. But you can see both, you can see this easily, how in the Rashi chart, you can see the Jupiter being in the same Cancer sign. Oh yeah, this is the South Indian format as well. But yeah, so that's one, this is a Vargotama planet, right? So Jupiter is actually in the same sign in both the Rashi chart and the Navamsha chart. So it's extremely to give its results. That is a concept of that. Now, there is also a similar concept called as the Ashtamamsha concept. Is basically when a planet occupies a sign that is 8 houses away from its Rashi chart placement. So Mercury is in Pisces in the Rashi chart. Mercury is actually going into Libra, which is 8 houses away from his Rashi chart placement in the Navamsha. So that's the concept of Ashtamamsha. Now, these two simple concepts, right, Vargotama and Ashtamamsha, that itself is kind of into some interesting question. So the question is then, how does the house distance of a particular planet between Rashi chart and Navamsha chart signs influence the result? So for instance, here you can see Venus is in Pisces in the Rashi chart, but Venus is actually Aquarius in the Navamsha chart, so which is a 12th house distance. So is that going to be any particular significance? That is one question that can be asked. Or what about any other planet that is going 5 houses away, or 9 houses away, or 6 houses away? That's an interesting way to begin to look at them. And also, similarly, what if is it possible for a planet in a particular Navamsha sign that is also influencing the corresponding sign in the Rashi chart? So see here in this example, you see Rahu is in Pisces, and in the Rashi chart, you have all these cluster of planets in Pisces as well. So the question I'm asking is it possible that the Navamsha chart Rahu, which is placed in Pisces, is actually capable of influencing these particular planets? That is one thing. Now, so this is very simple. This is leading to a simple idea of superimposing your Rashi chart and the D9 chart. So that's a simple, interesting thing to think about. And the final question, the third question which I would ask is that, is it possible to make use of nakshatras of a planet in the Navamsha? This is a very new topic, new area of research which I'm doing. So looking at the particular planets, nakshatra, both in the Rashi chart as well as the Navamsha chart, and trying to connect that as well. And that's a very interesting thing to think about. So quite simply look at what, for instance, in this example, in a particular nakshatra in the Rashi, what nakshatra is it going into the Navamsha chart as well, and what can you make connections on that front? So that's what I wanted to simply present.
And also, we've been sitting here talking about Jupiter transit, and knowing where those transiting planets are, you can just plug those in and see how it's affecting, this, because, Navamsha is, yes, it's the fruit of the Rashi chart, but it's who you become. It's who you are in the second half of your life. So you want to see how those transiting planets are hitting both of the charts. So I like this technique because then it just puts everything together and you just can see everything clearly.
Exactly that, exactly that. So for instance, I just want to highlight, Albert Einstein's chart in terms of just describing this technique. For instance, Einstein had a lot of good things happen during his Venus time period. For instance, this is even his first job in Swiss patent office when Venus Mars was happening. Now, if you look at Rashi chart and Navamsha chart, you can see Venus Rashi chart alone. You can see Venus Mars is actually in 10th and 8th house respectively. In his Rashi chart. In the Navamsha chart, though, Mars is actually going 2 houses away from his Rashi chart position. The second house is connected with house of income. That's exactly what happened for him. Now, interestingly, a lot of other things also happened. Now, Venus Mars, his father also died. Again, Mars is in 8th house. If you look at the Rashi chart, right, look at where Mars is going in the Navamsha chart. It's going 9 houses away. So this 8th house event happened to his 9 other figure, that kind of thing. So you can. So it's a very simple thing to look at when you do. And now, for instance, you can see again what happens when, so finally he gets appointed as this. Now, Einstein was famous for his paper on relativity. He actually published this during Venus Rahu time period. very interesting if you look at that. If you look at Venus Rahu, right, you can see this immediately. Provided ancient published a paper during Rahu sub period. Look at Rahu. Rahu is actually in Uttarashada nakshatra. That's actually a nakshatra of writing. You know, a lot of great authors, a lot of great gurus are there, things like that. You know, so that's what ancient did. He published a research paper because Rahu is in 8th house. Now, interestingly, you can see that his Rahu is actually going to Pisces in the Navamsha ascendant. So this was a big deal for him.
Can I say something about that really fast?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know if you knew this, but Einstein also really wanted to be an actor.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
And he discouraged him, you know, like, please don't do it. Your reputation, 8th house reputation.
Yep, exactly that. Yeah, for sure.
Goes to Pisces, which rules film, right? So he would have destroyed his reputation if he had gone. And I think he did a little bit at the end. He dabbled a little bit in film, but oh my gosh. Yeah, my husband told me about that. And I was like, oh, but that makes sense. You can see it right there.
Yeah, you can see it immediately. You know, it's almost like a snapshot kind of thing. You can see how this Rahu, during Rahu sub period, even though it was like a kind of paper, he got unexpected fame because his Rahu was actually interacting with his Pisces, you know, which is his 10th house of career. This was what, it was a big deal, you know, after that 9 years later during Venus-Saturn time period, then things settled. Now it's very interesting to look at. It's Ashtamamsha Pada of a planet, the existence of a particular planet is happening with Saturn in his chart. Saturn is actually in Pisces in the Rashi chart, is going in the Navamsha chart, right? So that's an 8th house Saturn, you know, 8th house distance, that's an Ashtamamsha Saturn. But during this time period, he actually got some books, you know, he actually was appointed as a physics professor, you know, he resigned from his, there was a change in career. You can see Saturn's 8th house distance, that change in career played out. He got his first honorary doctorate. So, you know, 10th house gains, 10th house career reputation played out and all that. It's very interesting because Saturn in the Rashi chart is ruling 9th house. From the Navamsha chart is ruling his 11th house of gains. So 9th house and 11th house team literally connecting, you know, through, because he has an exalted Saturn in the Navamsha chart. So that's why his Saturn period was equally powerful for him in a big way. And what is interesting again is that, but you can see this Ashtamamsha Saturn was kind of good for him because it was actually in good dignity. You know, Saturn is exalted in the Libra sign and all that, right? In the Navamsha. So it's good exalted. So it's great. So it's going to be a good planet for him. The fruit of Saturn was great. Now, if you look at the subsequent events, now he actually gets nominated for Nobel Prize in 1909, but he doesn't win it then. You know, Saturn kind of delayed that. Saturn also delayed other kind of honors, you know, his true accomplishment and honors and stuff like that. But his marriage ended during Venus-Mercury time period. My Leva leaves end of marriage. You know. Now, what is interesting about Mercury is that if you look at Saturn and Mercury is conjunct in Pisces, both Saturn and Mercury into Libra Ashtamamsha Pada, you know, which is kind of showing the Ashtamamsha placement of Saturn and Mercury. Now, Mercury is not...
I'm sorry, I'm not familiar. What is that term? I'm not familiar with that.
Ashtamamsha, you know, Ashtam Amsha. Yeah, Ashtam means 8th, Amsha means the Varga, you know, in Navamsha. So it's 8th house placement in the Navamsha. That is what it translates as. So that's what's happening here. You can see Mercury is actually debilitated in the Rashi chart, but the debilitation is supposed cancelled by Venus, you know. Still, Mercury is afflicted with Saturn. Mercury is kind of a strong, facing this exalted. Saturn is also the 8th lord in the Navamsha chart. Well, in the Rashi chart, sorry. But it's also 14th house in the Navamsha chart as well. So you can see how this transformation of marriage, this problems with marriage also came up during this time frame, you know, because it's increased 8th house influence happening both in the Rashi chart as well as the Navamsha chart. And then if you superimpose charts, right, again, you're seeing these problems literally coming in. Like you can see this Rahu. Well, this Saturn is going 8 houses away. Going 8 houses away is actually, you know, Saturn is feeling good in Libra, but Mercury is also feeling great with Saturn, you know, an exalted Saturn. So that's an interesting thing. And finally, he gets his Nobel Prize during Moon-Mars time period. Why does that happen? Look at what is happening, you know, with his Moon and Mars.
Anga Yoga having Mercury with Saturn because Saturn's exalted. Does that and it's helping Mercury?
Yeah, you could. Well, it's a good question. Actually, the niche actually happening, supposed to happen here, in
Okay.
Pisces in the Rashi chart itself, because it's with an exalted Venus, right? But still, you have to remember it is still affected with Saturn. So that Nishpanga Yaga isn't perfect. There's other problems which Saturn is causing. And again, the long-standing problems is again repeating even in the Navamsha as well. Especially Mercury being the seventh lord in the Navamsha within the marriage.
Okay.
So, and look at the seventh house, it's Ketu again, all that added on, So you can say that. Now, what is happening during Moon Mars time period is that if you look at Mars in this Rashi chart, is the 11th house of gains and titles. Mars is actually, it's exalted. So that's great. Now, if you look at Moon Mars time period, right, what is interesting is that Moon, now, one simple way to read a Dasha, Mahadasha, is to look at the Rashi chart placement of that particular planet and look at its corresponding Navamsha sign placement. So during Moon Mahadasha, Moon is actually in 6th in the Rashi chart, but in the Navamsha chart, it's actually going into his levels of gains, of honor, recognition. It's a simple thing. It's a simple thing. You can see that a lot of teams of great things about, the greatest gain to happen to him during this time frame. He actually won the Nobel Prize during this time frame. And quite simply, again, now what you're seeing is that the Rashi chart placement of exalted Mars is actually adding in to his Navamsha sign placement. That's the way I interpret this. Quite simply. I say that, sure, during Moon Mahadasha beginning, you are sure you might, with some health issues and stuff like that. And that's what he had. He did have health issues during Moon Mahadasha with heart problems and stuff like that. But then you will with gains because Moon is going into the 11th house in the Navamsha chart. So,
That's so important.
So
repeat what you said so that it's very clear.
Yeah.
What he's saying is,
exactly.
Look at your Dasha, Mahadasha, and Bhukti, not just in your Rashi chart, but you got to find those planets in your Navamsha, and that's going to unlock so much more.
Yep. Exactly that, and then exactly that. So it's a simple technique, just looking, there's not much to it, but it's very easy when you compose and when you begin to cut in the house themes. Now with Bill Gates chart, what's interesting is that, again, just look at, it was during his Venus Mahadasha that he made a lot of money. You can see his Venus is in Libra, in 5th house in the Rashi chart. The Navamsha chart is actually going into the 2nd house in his Navamsha chart. And now it's actually going neither way. Now, say it was going to Ashtamamsha or 8 houses away, it would have been problem, because it's an Ashtamamsha pada, 8th house teams would have played out. But because it was going 9 houses away, it was much more harmonious. That Mahadasha was harmonious. It became a lot of wealth-giving thing, a lot of prosperity came to his life, a lot of 9th house kind of things played out into his life because of this 9th house sign distance between Venus in the both Rashi chart and the Navamsha chart. That's a simple concept here. And even now, the final number I want to share is simply that of Amitabh Bachchan. Amitabh Bachchan, great successful actor, but during his Mercury Dasha, he actually started a failed company. You can see that immediately when you simply superimpose Rashi chart and the Navamsha chart. Why? So he's during his Mercury Dasha, his Mercury is retrograde, it is with Sun. Into the Navamsha chart, it is going 12 houses away.
Not good. No bueno.
Yeah. So,
No
exactly. You can see. Now, what if you further look into the nakshatras of the Navamsha, right? You can see Mercury actually in Magha nakshatra. And Sun is also in Magha nakshatra, which is actually showing that he had a lot of past life karma with this loss kind of playing out. He had a lot of ancestral karma and stuff like that playing out. And what more importantly, this 12th house distance from the Mercury and Sun was kind of suggesting, this loss, literally, if you start your own company, you are going to experience loss. That's what exactly this meant. And that's what played out for him. Now to think in terms of Sun displacement, right? Begin to look at Jupiter and Sagittarius is doing in your Rashi chart, in your Navamsha chart, and you begin to have a good idea about a complete picture of what is actually happening within the chart. That is the way I would actually frame it as well. Let's see.
What you say, because we know that Jupiter's in Sagittarius right now. So putting in the transits, that puts Jupiter in his 11th house in the birth chart. That's really good. He'll probably have a comeback. Now that Jupiter's in Sag, she's going to get some relief.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's also, I mean, it was a blessing in disguise that he went through those losses because he was burning off karma.
Yep, for sure. Exactly that. Exactly that, you know,
To
for
see that
sure.
going through it, but afterward, it's like, oh, well, now that I know,
Yeah.
yeah. And then in his Navamsha, Jupiter and K2, so he's got a nodal return because
Yeah.
K2's in Sag, so he's definitely burning off some karma.
Yeah, for sure. You know, but again, I simply wanted to introduce this idea of beginning to have a look at the nakshatras in the Navamsha as well. You know, it's a very new way of looking at things. Nowadays, software allows you to look at things, and you are surprisingly you are actually able to give some very good solid prediction based on that. That's what I just wanted to introduce that concept also with this chart. You know,
Wow, that's
but
amazing.
yeah, yeah. So Katya, that's what I have so far. I'm going to stop sharing.
Thank you much. That's see, it's there's so much information that I get from you every time we have class. I'm glad that we've recorded it now. We can share it with other people because, I mean, you make it's so simple. It really is. You know, when you put these charts on top of each other, and then you know where the transits are, and it's just like, oh, you really can't
Yeah.
do it without looking at both. You know, you really can't. And one thing I just wanted to say, because I know you just got Parashara's light. You know, we were working with the Cosmic Insights app, and on there it has a superimpose.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
On Parashara's light, you just use the composite compatibility chart, which is, you know,
Yep.
usually 2 people, but you can put any chart in there. And
Yep,
I didn't even
definitely. Yeah, definitely. Cosmic Insights is much more easier, convenient in the mobile and stuff like that to superimpose charts and stuff like that. That's a great thing there.
yeah, the only thing about Cosmic Insights is that you can't go past 1900 the year. If
Oh,
you
really?
like, if you're looking up the chart of the United States in 1776, it's not on there. So they need to go back and make those
Okay.
previous available. Whereas on Parashara's light, you can put in any date. You know.
Right. I thought they fixed that bug, but yeah, probably they might become aware of it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll have to check it because it's been definitely a few months since I've tried it.
Okay.
But I like
Yeah.
using both. I like using both because on my phone, you know,
Yeah.
I can take this anywhere and I can pull up somebody's chart and, you know.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I think for sure, superimposing one definite thing, Cosmic Insights made it much more easier. I think, so, there were very few as were talking about superimposing the Rashi chart and the Navamsha chart. That's something I use. It's like my bread and butter, literally. You know, I use it very easily. You can see how easy it is, you know, and then you can give all kinds of prediction with that. In fact, you can say a planet is doing bad in the Rashi chart, it's exalted in Navamsha. You know, you have a great time, no matter what. You know, so it's like a lot of great things can happen on that front. But the other finer, simpler techniques which I introduced, like looking at the house distance of that particular planet, you know, superimposing the planet from the Rashi chart and Navamsha chart, you know, and even looking into the nakshatras, right? Yeah, of the Navamsha. So you might begin to get a deeper insight into what is actually happening as well.
Right.
But yeah.
Wow.
Great.
Thank you so much, Santhip. You're amazing. And I'm so grateful. You know, Thanksgiving is coming up. And so I am very grateful and thankful for you.
Sure.
Yeah. And, you know, I hope that everything's going well in India. And we can't wait to see you back here in the United States. So definitely,
Sure.
you know, let
Sure,
us know
Katya. Yeah.
about, you know, your travels and what's going on. And because I think,
Sure.
yeah, really, you know, you're definitely needed over here. I know your family's in India, but
Yeah.
there's a
That,
lot
yeah,
of
for
work
sure.
here.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see how it goes. But thank you, Katya. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks again.
So much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.